Hey fam, thanks for tuning in to this deep dive into what colours of artificial light should I be blocking to get better sleep. Before I get into sharing some of the academic literature with you, I need you to hit the subscribe button below. Reason being is I want to keep making these amazing tutorials and to help empower a generation. There are a lot of articles out there in the public domain which argue how much artificial light your blue blockers should be blocking. Some state that you only need to block 50% of blue light. Others say all blue light, and some are even suggesting, like us at BLUblox, that green light needs to be blocked as well. So let's take a look at the information available from the academic literature and determine how much and of what spectrum of light we should be blocking for optimal melatonin production. Artificial light after dark suppresses melatonin production. In the year 2000, a study by James Zietzer determined that exposure to intense levels of artificial light during the darkness hours phase-shifted circadian rhythms. 23 volunteers took part in this 9-day experiment where they exposed them to artificial light for 6.5 hours prior to bed. The results concluded that dim light before bed had little effect on melatonin production, whereas bright light in the room with higher luminance completely suppress melatonin production. So this can be from your house light, for instance, or your TV or your smartphone. This would either create a serious sleep disorder or create circadian phase shifting. This means that natural sleep times were pushed back to later in the night. The brain, when exposed to artificial light, perceives the day to be longer. Nighttime starts later as a consequence, and the dark hours become shorter. In 2011, Gooley published a study that showed the exposure to room light before bedtime suppresses melatonin onset, and it also shortened melatonin secretion duration. This provides further evidence that artificial light needs to be blocked before bed. We seem to be in a dark-deprived modern society today. Blue light after dark suppresses melatonin production. The light from digital devices and LED lights in our home, so this can be from your router, your fridge light, your house lights for instance, they all emit short wavelength enriched artificial light. What this means is the blue frequencies are higher in concentration than natural light. Blue frequencies from 400 nanometers to 495 nanometers can be classified as short wavelength. This coincides as well with Zietzer's experiment, where higher concentrations of artificial light seem to evoke the suppression of melatonin production. And in this specific study, you can see that blue light is actually a major issue to turning off melatonin production. The biggest difference between natural sunlight and artificial LED light is the sharp spike in blue light around about the 440 to 470 nanometer wavelengths. In order to allow melatonin secretion, we need to address this spike in blue. Blue blockers with an amber lens will block this portion of blue light. In 2009, Buckhart and Phelps published a study looking to analyse blue light blocking after dark on melatonin production. They took 20 adult volunteers and they split them into 2 random groups. One of those groups wore amber tinted lenses before bed, and the remaining participants wore yellow lenses before bed. At the end of this experiment, the data showed that the participants that wore the amber lenses had significantly better sleep quality and duration than the control group that wore yellow lenses. Buckhart and Phelps coined one of the best statements that I absolutely live by, and I've mentioned it on many podcasts, and that's blocking blue light could create a form of physiologic darkness. Blue light after dark must be blocked in order to increase melatonin production, improve sleep quality, advance circadian phases, and also improve health issues such as depression and anxiety. Orange and amber glasses block between 90 to 100% of blue light as a minimum. One should be wearing, at a bare minimum, the amber glasses before bed to block sleep-disrupting artificial blue light. However, we're going to talk a little bit more now about green light and the fact that amber lens blue blockers may not actually be the antidote to optimal sleep. Green light after dark suppresses melatonin. It is conclusive, without a doubt, that blue light exposure after dark disrupts sleep cycles. Excellent studies have been released that prove this point beyond reasonable doubt, and there are many more to be found if you go and explore PubMed. However, there is increasing talk that some green light can also suppress melatonin production. In 2001, Wright and Lack released a paper analysing different light wavelengths and their effect on melatonin production. They compared 660 nanometer, which is red light, 595 nanometer, which is amber light, 525 nanometer, which is green light, and 497 nanometers, which is blue-green light, and also 470 nanometer, which is blue light. The shorter wavelengths, so 470 nanometers, 497 nanometers, and 525 nanometers, showed the greatest melatonin suppression. It was actually between 65 and 81%. The shorter wavelengths also showed the greatest circadian phase delay, ranging from 27 to 36 minutes. In essence, the exposure of blue and green light delayed the participants actually falling asleep, which is sometimes referred to as sleep latency. Going back even further, in 1991, a study emerged in Sleep Journal by Horn et al., which showed that green light from 500 to 530 nanometers also suppressed melatonin. In 2010, Gooley showed the green light close to the 550 nanometer spectrum range had a similar effect on suppressing melatonin as to that of blue light. However, during light exposure, the spectral sensitivity to green light delayed exponentially relative to 460 nanometer blue light. What this means is that blue light is the most potent suppressor of melatonin. Green light also suppresses melatonin, just not as bad as the blue light. What we can conclude from all this evidence that we've just discussed is that green light exposure before bed seems to have a similar effect on melatonin suppression as that of blue light. Green spectrum light from 500 nanometers to 550 nanometers has a varying effect on suppressing melatonin before bed, which the literature is clearly showing. Green light runs from 500 to 570 nanometers, so we don't need to block 100% of all green light. We just need to focus on the light between 500 and 550 nanometers in that green range. What light did our ancestors see after dark? Prior to bed, the concentration of light our ancestors would have seen would have been red and orange. As the sun sets, these colours become more visible and are the last colours we see before bed. Our ancestors would have had access to campfires to keep warm, and the light emitted by these fires would have been red and orange. As we have shown and spoken about, the literature shows that short wavelength light between 400 to 550 nanometers blocks melatonin production, and longer wavelength light has little to no effect on it. How much artificial light should we block? The literature is so clear in this. We need to block blue and green light before bed in order to maximise melatonin production. Blocking blue is an absolute minimum and a non-negotiable and will improve your sleep, but it won't be optimal. Blocking both blue and green light will be more optimal for those looking for the best quality sleep they can possibly get. Studies have shown varying results from green light. For instance, some show that blocking up to 525, 530 and even 550 nanometers is enough to optimize melatonin production and sleep. People who are wearing yellow lenses or clear lenses after dark are clearly not going to reap any benefits. These types of glasses are great for mitigating digital eye strain and should be marketed as computer glasses or blue light filtering glasses, definitely not blue blockers. BLUblox Sleep Plus lenses have been designed with the above discussed science in mind. It's very clear that you need to block 100% between 400 and 550 nanometers to optimize melatonin production and optimize your sleep. This is very, very apparent and why we have Sleep Plus lenses in our collection. Thank you so much for watching.